Assalamu alaikum. Today's video is going to be about 8 questions that you can ask yourself before you get married, just to see if you are ready and prepared. You know, too many sisters rush into marriage thinking that it's only about the wedding day and the dress, the aesthetics, the photos, and obviously they're excited to become the bride. But you have to realize that marriage is a lifelong act of worship. It's not just one day and then it's over. So the questions that I've gathered today are obviously not limited to these only, and of course there could be many more questions you could ask yourself, but it's just for you to get an idea, so hopefully you'll understand yourself a bit better. So having said that, let's dive in. Question number 1 that you can ask yourself is, do you understand the purpose of marriage? I'll just quickly summarize what I mean by this because I've already mentioned this point in my previous video. It's only about 5 minutes long, so you can check it out here. So basically what I mean by that is that marriage is not just romance, it's an act of worship. Women forget that marriage is spiritual. Allah designed marriage so that we are able to protect our chastity, we are able to complete our deen, and we're able to build a family that is rooted in Islam and in Islamic values. So if you understand this why of marriage, then that's a good sign. And by the way, I've kept the last point that is the best in my opinion for last, so make sure to stick around for that. Okay, question number 2 that you can ask yourself is, are you emotionally ready or stable for marriage, or are you just seeking an escape? Marriage won't heal the wounds that you haven't tackled. If you're going through family drama or you have emotional baggage or any insecurities, then don't expect marriage to come and fix all of those things and your husband to solve all your problems. So for example, if a sister feels lonely and she feels like she's always stuck at home, or if she's going through a lot of family drama and she just wants to kind of escape and she thinks that marriage will fix all of that for her, all of her problems, but she hasn't worked through her trauma and healed, then remember that if you're unstable or insecure or basically emotionally dependent, then that will eventually show in your marriage, because if your husband is not able to fix those problems for you, then you're going to be disappointed. So heal first and try your best to tackle those problems. Because yes, marriage is a sunnah, but it's also a big responsibility. So don't depend on your husband to fix you. Question number 3 to ask yourself is, are you ready to compromise and communicate? Marriage isn't a fairy tale. You're going to have disagreements because you're obviously living together all the time. But the important thing is that you try to understand each other. It's not a race, it's not about winning. So if you're used to getting your own way, or you avoid hard conversations, and you think that once you get married, then you won't have to deal with any of that, and you and your husband will always agree with each other and everything will be hunky-dory, then that's completely wrong. That will not happen. There will, of course, be disagreements and arguments. And if you can't communicate with each other clearly and compromise and respect each other in this way, then you'll always feel like you're at war with each other and you'll not feel at peace. So learn how to express your feelings respectfully and also listen without ego, because you're going to learn a lot through this process. Question number 4 would be, are you financially and practically aware of your responsibilities? So knowing how to budget, cook, clean, and basically run a house. Even if you're planning on sharing responsibilities, being prepared is very important. And that goes for men too. I think that is something very important. If you're a mom yourself and you have a young son, it's very important, or for us ourselves, to teach our children, if they're boys, that how important it is to help their wives. And it's also the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that he used to help his wives with housework. Also teach them how to cook and clean. And I think one of the good things that has come out of this generation is that women are teaching more their sons to do this housework and to help out and cook and clean, and not just basically sit on the sofa the whole day while their wife is doing all the hard work. You're a team, so you have to work together so that the woman will not build resentment. And when there's resentment, there's going to be arguments and everything will just drift apart. And men need to remember that just because their parents may have done that, or they've seen older people in their family doing that, the men, then it doesn't mean that it's something right to do and that they should follow in their footsteps. It's very important to help out. It will keep peace in the family. Question number 5 is, are you intentional or rushing? Remember that quick decisions may lead to regrets. There is a hadith to the nearest meaning that rushing is from shaitan. So whenever you're doing things hurriedly, that is from shaitan, because it often ends up with bad consequences, or it doesn't usually end up well. What I mean to say is that don't just jump into marriage because all your friends are doing it and everyone's getting married, or because you're scared of being alone. Make dua to Allah. And if you found someone, then do istikhara and basically make sure to research about that person deeply before you make a decision. Remember that this will inshallah be your life partner and the person that you're going to have children with. So you obviously want to make sure that he is a good person for you and your children in the future. Question number 6 you can ask yourself is, are you open to growth and learning? Marriage can drain you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The important thing is that you're open to learning from mistakes or from your spouse. You know, it may be uncomfortable sometimes, but humility is really important. Because obviously you will have to learn, you know, you will learn about yourself, the qualities maybe you didn't know you had before. You will learn things about your spouse and your deen. Question number 7, and we're almost at the end, is are you ready to be a partner, not just a bride? Now, it's easy to dream about the wedding dress, but are you ready to be a teammate, to support your spouse, be there for your spouse always? That's the real beauty of marriage. Again, remember that a wedding lasts a day, but a marriage lasts a lifetime. Being a bride is easy, but being a partner takes work. Okay, now question number 8, which is the last one. In my opinion, it's the one of the most important ones. Are you practicing deen consistently? You cannot build a spiritual home if your own foundation is shaky. You don't have to be perfect, but try to at least have a strong foundation. So what do I mean by that? Make sure that you're praying regularly, that you're trying to learn more about Islam and practicing its values. Really try to perfect this and work on it. So if you, for example, wear a hijab, but you don't pray all your salah or all your prayers consistently, and you're expecting your future husband to be super religious, then it doesn't make sense, right? So you need to make sure that your connection, your own connection with Allah is strong first, and that you're working on it. Marriage is half your deen, but of course you have to complete the other half. And we can see how important it is for us to be religious because of the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ was basically explaining to the Sahaba that the thing that they should look when they're seeking a spouse is for a woman who is religious, to the nearest meaning what the Prophet ﷺ said. Just shows that this is really something that we should be working on. Because remember, a woman is the one that is going to be basically doing the upbringing of the children. So if her foundation and her knowledge about Islam is weak, then how is she going to be teaching her children? She'll not be able to teach her children properly. And then the generation will just, learn less and less about Islam and practice less and less because of that woman who wasn't able to pass down the knowledge of Islam properly and its values. And the same, of course, goes for the man as well. He shouldn't expect his wife to do all of that and pray everything, but then he just sits and doesn't do anything. He doesn't pray. The children will learn from their parents, and more than telling them, they learn by visually seeing you do those things. So if they see that their parents are not praying, then why would they pray as well? You hear so many times that parents are complaining to the Maulanas, the scholars, that my child is not practicing. And when the scholars then look into it and ask them questions, then they realize that the parents didn't educate them in the first place from when they were young to do that, or they didn't do those things themselves. So then how are they expecting their children to do it? And then they come crying, regretting and wishing that they had done that they had taught Islam properly to their children. So it's important to show your children you practicing religion for them to learn by action. And of course, in order for you to be able to teach them, you need to learn about Islam yourself. So if you're nodding along to all of these, or even most of these, then it probably means that you need to think seriously about marriage. Again, remember, these are only limited questions, and there may be many more things that you can come up with to ask yourself, or things that you personally know that you want to improve on about yourself. So make dua, talk to your elders or mentors who wish well for you, and take your time in preparing yourself. If you haven't already, make sure to listen to the previous episode where I spoke about what the purpose of marriage is in the first place, which I think is very important before you even start looking into getting married. So make sure to listen to that one, and make sure to tune in for the next episode on the marriage series. Assalamu alaikum.